Going to call the 7 o'clock, May 6, 2014, Sherwood City Council meeting to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Middleton.
Here.
Council President Henderson.
Sorry, somebody's signing my sheet. Here.
Councilor Grant is absent. Councilor Folsom.
Here.
Councilor Butterfield.
Here.
Councilor Langer.
Here.
Councilor Clark.
Here.
Thank you.
First, we have the consent agenda. It would be approval of April 15, 2014 City Council meeting minutes.
I'll move it.
Second. He's going to read the whole list.
Oh, okay.
Resolution 2014-026, reappointing Russell Griffin to the Sherwood Planning Commission. Resolution 2014-027, appointing Sally Robinson to the Sherwood Planning Commission. Resolution 2014-028, authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Washington County regarding a joint industrial site readiness and planning grant benefiting Sherwood's Tonquin employment area. And Resolution 2014-029, authorizing the city manager to sign the memorandum of agreement between the City of Sherwood and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Presentations. The first one tonight is we're recognizing someone who achieved the Eagle Scout rank. Bryce Kuhn, please come forward. That was quick. Well, he attained his Eagle Scout, and he's not here tonight. So, next, we have something that three of us on the council went to, and it was a lot of fun.
I was there too.
Right. That was you, the three of us. You?
Oh, no, the
Oh, four of us. There was four of us there. And we got to go to the recognition of the Mr. Bowman contest. And what was really great about it is we actually set history during that because we couldn't choose a winner. So it was amazing. We tried and tried and tried, and we came up, and it was just, we couldn't just pick one. It was more than that. It was the 9th annual one that they had there. It was really well attended. It was great. They raised, and this is amazing, over $56,000 and it goes to the cancer center up there, or Dorndecker's Children's Hospital up there. $56,000. That was amazing. There were 12 senior boys that were actually involved in trying to be Mr. Bowman. And they give a little talent show, and it's really, really great. But we ended up, like I said, we couldn't decide on one. We had two. And what they do is, what's really cool is they have somebody who works with them as like a mentor. And in ours, we had, on the first one, who I'm going to recognize, Olson Cottle, you want to come up, please? And Mackenzie Cottle. So actually, Mackenzie probably did more work getting Olson involved in it. So what I want to do is, I'll sit down out there for a minute and give us a little heads up on all your planning and how you determined what you were going to do in your skits, just briefly.
She planned most of it because she had done it. She was one of the juniors that did it the year before, so she kind of knew what she was doing, and I was pretty much just in charge of helping her raise money and then doing my talent and showing up to dance practice and stuff.
So I was one of the co-pageant chairs of the committee. As he said, I was on the committee as a junior the year before, so I learned how to run it last year, and I started planning it this year. But with him to win the tie with the Roonies, we had to decide a video, a talent. There's a costume child segment, and we kind of had to coordinate all that. But on top of that, our biggest priority was to raise money because it was all for charity, and so we could have, cared less if we won the other segments as long as we raised the goal that we set, which was $5,000 for just ourselves. And we actually had a very generous donor who donated that $5,000, so we were able to raise over $9,000
something, yeah.
for the pageant. So, yeah, we're very grateful for the community support in that.
So Mackenzie, can you tell, and Olson, can you tell us why Dornbeckers is pretty special for the 2+1 of you,
Yeah,
the
so-
three of you?
We're triplets. My other brother didn't compete in the pageant, but we were born at Dornbecker Children's Hospital, and we were 28 weeks when we were born, so very early, and we had to stay at the hospital for 5 weeks for our recovery and to get us going. So Dornbecker is very special for my family because we owe them a lot. Yeah.
Any other questions? Now you can take your seats because we'll honor all four of you at once. I would like Kess Rooney and Cambria Rooney.
Cambria.
Cambria.
And I'll tell them while Cass
You
is
go
coming
ahead
up.
and talk about it.
Well, Cambria is at a tennis match, and they just started at 7
Oh,
o'clock.
okay.
But something really interesting about the Cottles and Rooneys is they were triplets, and Cambria and Cass are twins.
It was a fun night. It really was. And it's just too bad you can't pick everybody as the winner. But you guys really did stand out, and it was just a fun night. It really was. So we're going to come down here. We're going to present you these, and I think we even have a visiting dignitary. We have an ex-mayor out there somewhere. Yeah.
So you're supposed to play your guitar and you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could. I won't see her anytime soon.
Way to go. It was awesome. Glad none of you fell into the audience.
Me too.
Yeah, seriously.
Mackenzie, you're the one that's going to give you the honor, and your brother can come up too. Thank you. Way to go. Yeah, I was here when they were born too. So. They were good.
Rather seeing your wife instead of you.
Mr. Mayor, I have to say really quickly, we didn't ask Cass how he raised his money, but his mom baked goods every night for how long was that, Cass? Yeah, that they sold at school, and they raised a lot of money that way. And I don't know how she did it because she actually works too. And if you recognize Cass, he played Tevye last 2 weekends. So, well, the beard, I don't know.
I think that everybody, these are the type of people that just make this community. They're the backbone and they're the future. So, hey, thanks a lot. That's next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's someone there. Our next one is going to be, this is EMS Week proclamation. I'm going to read the proclamation, then I'm going to have Kieran come up and talk about it in a moment. But first, week of May 18 through 24, 2014 is Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and the others. Whereas the member of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. Whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical services provided by designing Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Bill Middleton, Mayor of Sherwood of Oregon, in recognition of the event, do hereby proclaim week of May 18th through the 24th, 2014, as Emergency Medical Services Week. Thank you. And everybody knows we have the best in this community, and we're going to be meeting a new fire chief that's going to be taking over here, I believe in the 10th. I can't remember what meeting it is.
It'll be the first meeting in June.
First meeting in June. Would Kieran like to come up, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'm in a supportive role for.
Sure.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council members and Mayor Middleton. Thank you for having me tonight, and my comrades over at TVFNR. As you said, my name is Kieran. My last name is Henthorne. I'm a supervisor over at Metro West. Metro West has been providing ambulance service in the state of Oregon since 1953, and a great deal of that time in Sherwood. It's been an honor for that whole time. I'm personally honored, the company's honored to be allowed to serve in your area in Sherwood and in the rest of Washington County. So thank you for the opportunity to appear here today. EMS Week, as you said, is May 18th through 24th, and this proclamation before the City Council of Sherwood is incredibly important to each and every member of the EMS teams that work throughout the county and throughout Sherwood. As providers of pre-hospital care here in Sherwood, Metro West EMTs and paramedics work in tandem with TVFNR paramedics to provide emergency health care to your citizens. We feel honored that your community has entrusted us with the emergency care of your residents and strive every day to earn your trust. Because of your commitment and support of EMS, Washington County has one of the best emergency healthcare systems in the state of Oregon. Our EMS partners include fire personnel, police, emergency room staff, and all the support personnel surrounding them. Our goal is to meet emergency needs of your community in a compassionate, timely, and always professional manner. On behalf of all EMS workers in Sherwood, thank you for your proclamation and your continued support of our emergency medical workers. I'd also like to take this opportunity to invite each and every one of you to our EMS celebration on Friday, May 23rd at 3 o'clock p.m. at our Dawson Creek office over in Hillsborough. Thank you again, and everyone have a great evening. Do you have anything to add?
My name is Rob Watson. I'm a lieutenant paramedic over here at Engine 33. We are C shift here representing tonight. I was just going to add that our new captain started the 1st of May, and his name is Brian Smith, and he will be with you all, I believe, maybe next week or
June 3rd.
Or the next, next meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you, and
you have
without a
some
doubt, you guys
questions
do
for
a
us?
fabulous job. So if you'd like to take the proclamation, I'd give it to you. So, thank you very much. Our next presentation is Metro presentation on the Southwest Corridor update.
Good evening, Mayor Middleton and councilors. My name is Craig Dirksen. I'm the Metro Councilor for District 3, which includes Sherwood. And I want to thank you for inviting us to come and give you an update on the Southwest Corridor Plan. Also, I want to thank Mayor Middleton for his continued participation in the Southwest Corridor Plan Steering Committee, which is ongoing. The Southwest Corridor Plan is a collaboration between 8 cities, 2 counties, TriMet, the Oregon Department of Transportation, and Metro, focusing on targeting public investments to support your community visions of how downtowns, main streets, and employment areas should grow over time. The plan is looking at options for high-capacity transit, but that alone isn't enough to address the challenges and the opportunities in this part of the region. Last July, the steering committee approved the Southwest Corridor Plan and the Shared Investment Strategy, which includes about $500 million, and you don't stutter if you say that really fast, $500 million of corridor improvement projects, including walking, biking, and roadway improvement projects aimed at providing more choices for people to get around, both today and in the future, and also parks, trails, and habitat projects that would enhance the green character of the communities in this part of the region, and what we've consistently heard is an important element of our communities from Sherwood to Portland. It also includes continuing to study both bus rapid transit and light rail high-capacity transit modes, and studying a facility that would connect downtown Portland with Tualatin via Tigard. Now, as you know, Sherwood is not included in the plan as a destination for the high-capacity transit because it was identified that it is not part of your local land use vision. However, the plan does call for improved transit in the form of frequent bus that would link Sherwood with the terminal station of the high-capacity transit plan of the line. I want to thank the Sherwood City Council for your commitment to continue participating in the Southwest Corridor Plan. Having a voice and a vote at the steering committee helps shape the plan's direction, and it ensures that your city will benefit from this long-term investment, especially through the Southwest Corridor Service Enhancement Plan, which is already going into the implementation process at TriMet. And now I would like to turn it over to Malou Wilkinson, who is our project manager, for some more information about the project and the plan. Malou?
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen, and good evening. I just wanted to give you a really short update on where we are right now with the Southwest Corridor Plan. So as Councillor Dirksen said, last fall, each of the project partners endorsed the Southwest Corridor Shared Investment Strategy, and what we've been doing since then is really working to refine what it looks like when you draw fat lines on the map, but from Portland to Tualatin via Tigard, it's easy to draw them at the high level, but once you start trying to figure out where you're going to put things on the ground, there are a lot of choices, and so we've actually identified over 60 design options that could serve that purpose that the steering committee identified last fall, and we've been working to narrow those down and also identify the complementary roadway and bicycle and pedestrian facilities that would go along with that. And what we're aiming to do is develop a package that the steering committee can recommend to the Metro Council to further study in a process that is a federal planning process under the National Environmental Policy Act. And so what we would do is a draft environmental impact statement. And so we really want to be careful with our resources going into a federal process like that, because once you're in it, you need to study everything very carefully. So we right now have a draft recommendation from the staff level that's out for public discussion, and the steering committee will hear about that next Monday, and Mayor Middleton is on that steering committee. We're looking for the steering committee to narrow down that large number of design options to a smaller set in June. And while that doesn't include a destination to Sherwood, as we're moving forward through, as we've been looking over this past year, and as we think about the work that we would do in that draft environmental impact statement, part of what will be critical is to think about how we can best serve the needs of all of the people who live off of that line. We have Sherwood and Lake Oswego and Beaverton and King City who are not on that line, and so part of the importance of keeping everyone at the table together talking about it is to be sure that as we do the local service enhancement planning and we think about how we might invest in high-capacity transit planning, we're considering the needs of all of the communities in the Southwest Corridor. So that's kind of our next step. We also have a number of public involvement opportunities over the next month. We have a community planning forum that will be next Tuesday evening in Tigard. And so we're hoping that folks from Sherwood will come as well as people from all of the other communities in the Southwest Corridor.
That's in the Public Works Auditorium.
Right, at 6 o'clock. And so this has been very much a collaborative process, and it's been very useful and I think beneficial to all of the partners to have Sherwood continue to be at the table, to have Beaverton continue to be at the table. And so we look forward to working with you as we move forward into the next steps. So would you add anything?
No, I think that covers it pretty well, though if we have a little bit of time, we're happy to answer questions if you have questions on the process or the program or where we are.
I think one of our feedback from the citizens was exactly how we're going about this now. The Tonquin Trail is our major focus right now, and the majority, from what I've heard, people didn't want the mass transit down here. They liked the enhanced bus service, so that was, and we're very happy that we're going to stay at the table and be involved in this process. So. I think you've answered exactly the way that we brought it forward, right, too. Any council questions?
Anything else?
None? Thank you very much for coming down.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next part of our business is going to be citizens' comments. And first is Tess Keys.
Hi, I'm Tess Keys, and I live at 22810 Southwest Main Street. And mostly I'm here because I just want to say thank you to the city. I did really good not getting emotional at that event. Now I'm going to get emotional for supporting this dedication that we did on Saturday to Stan the Man Stanislawski, who served as chief of police here from 1965 until 1981. The turnout was fantastic. I had support from everybody sitting up there except for one lady who thought it was more important to be with Zorba that night. But I know her heart was with me anyway. So to Bill Butterfield and to Linda for getting, and to Joe for helping me do that final hurdle of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, to all the people that came. It was really a tribute to, like lots of you up there didn't know him. Some of you had heard of him, and it was a tribute to our local police force as well. And I think that came out in shining colors. We had the bagpipers there. We had an honor guard. We had Oregon Rain and Wind. But I just want to say thank you for all the people that got on board to make that happen. And I looked really good, but it was because I had a whole lot of help from all of you. So just thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the weather was a little iffy there for a while. Nancy Bruton?
Is this still on? Okay. Nancy Bruton, 22566 Southwest Washington Street, number 101. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff, and community. I'm Nancy Bruton, the CEO of the Sherwood Chamber of Commerce. As the primary business organization in Sherwood, the Sherwood Chamber of Commerce is happy that the Sherwood City Council has sought to review system development charges within our city. The Chamber and the community of businesses in which we serve recognize that SDC fees spread the cost of essential capital improvements to new developments. We, however, believe that business owners, especially new ones, are able to support economic development in other necessary ways, like creating jobs to support the local tax base when they have more access to capital. Now is a great time to reduce those fees and support the momentum of the city being open to business. Recognizing the importance of good transportation system for the business development, the city should also use this opportunity to adjust transportation SDCs down for business development, noting that the city secured outstanding funding, state and county dollars, in 2012 for local and regional road projects. Additionally, we think it is worth considering additional options for ways to promote small businesses, for example, by having the first X amount of square foot commercial buildings at a lower rate than subsequent space beyond the initial square foot amount. Sherwood Chamber of Commerce thanks you for considering a reduction in fees to encourage economic activity. Additionally, we support this as an ongoing discussion over time. And finally, thank you guys so much for your public service. I personally value each and every one of you and all of our volunteers in this great community. So thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be giving a presentation on that tonight.
That's why we did it.
Terry Emmons?
Is it, okay, it's still on. Good evening, Mayor, City Council President Henderson, and councilors. My name is Terry Emmons. I've been a Sherwood resident for 27 years. I would like to respond to comments made by the mayor in the recent Gazette article regarding the review of the operating agreement between the YMCA and the City of Sherwood. In the article, the mayor stated, the YMCA couldn't or wouldn't provide financial information for us to audit. Instead, our article had to rely on piecemeal financial documents after 2001 that were provided to, and the testimony of the YMCA director, Renee Browse, and other members of council. Even so, the report clearly states that this contract was vague, poorly written, and mismanaged through the years. I believe the mayor's statements are inaccurate and reflect his ongoing bias against the YMCA and its staff. For 14 years, the YMCA and the city fostered a great working relationship built on honesty, trust, and integrity. In 2013, that changed. That changed with the election of the new officials. In March of 2013, the mayor made an attempt to have Renee Browse terminated from her employment with the YMCA. Emails that I have clearly state that the mayor made it clear if she was not replaced by the YMCA that the city contract was at risk. I have reviewed the letter of engagement between the city and Talbot, Corvola, and Warwick. First, TKW was not engaged to perform a financial audit of the YMCA as implied in the mayor's statement. The letter specifically states the firm will not conduct an audit of the YMCA's financial statements. The overall goal of the agreement was for the firm to provide information to the city such that the city can make informed choices and take appropriate actions with respect to the agreement in place with the YMCA. Second, regarding the financial documents the YMCA couldn't or wouldn't provide to TKW. This seems to imply there's some wrongdoing on the YMCA's part for not providing financial documents for the past 16 years. First, there's no legal or contractual requirements for an entity to retain financial records for more than 4 years. However, the YMCA did provide financial documentation. Throughout the life of the contract, the YMCA has provided financial statements to prior city officials. I find it interesting that city officials and city managers who enforced the contract in prior years were not contacted during the review of the contract. TWK's recommendation, number 5, states the city, not the YMCA, needs to establish and implement policies for retention of minutes, financial information, and correspondence related to the agreement's defined performance requirements. Therefore, the issue of maintaining accurate records rests on the city, not the YMCA. Nowhere in the report does it state that the contract was not abided to or the contract was mismanaged. I believe that Mayor Middleton should apologize to the YMCA and Renee Browse for his blatant misrepresentation of the facts. Transparency is a two-way street. You can talk the talk. Can you walk the talk?
Thank you. Next is Nancy Taylor.
Hi, Mayor Middleton and board members. I've come to say that Trashapalooza was a huge... Nancy Taylor, 17036 Southwest Lindley Way, Sherwood, Oregon. Taxpayer, homeowner, and happy citizen of Sherwood. First, I'd like to say Trashapalooza was a huge success. I'd like to thank everyone who came and volunteered. It was so exciting. There were children, there were grandmothers, there were grandfathers, and there were people who said, I didn't go to any other event other than this one. because it was just so much local Sherwood rather than commercial big time. So thank you for everyone. But I'd like to make a few comments based on my experience at Trashpalooza. One is, it's kind of sad, the route I was on. It seems like a lot of people in Sherwood consider Sherwood an ashtray. I wound up picking up a lot of cigarette butts, and it's really, really sad to walk down the street and see cigarette butts. And it was even grosser to kind of pick them up, but we had on gloves, so it was okay. I'm going to encourage everyone, those of you who were there and those of you who were not there, to do this on your own, to grab a sack, grab a few friends, and on the weekends, walk up and down in your own neighborhood and collect trash and throw it away. First, it tells the youth that you do care and that the cleanliness of Sherwood is number one with you. Second, it says to the youth of Sherwood, this is what I choose to do with my free time. This is how I choose to honor the city that I live in. It also teaches them good habits. I sat in a meeting earlier where I heard the chief of police talk about these exact same things. Children learn to do what they see, and not what you tell them to do, but what they see you do. So your habits form in them a lifetime of good habits. So I encourage all of you, pick up a sack this weekend, walk around your neighborhood, pick things up that don't belong to you, and throw them away. Sherwood has parks, and in those parks they have trash cans. They're there for a reason. So organize fun times, invite your neighbors, invite your friends, invite people that haven't been to Sherwood before to join you. Also, and this is my own personal thing, if you see dog waste and it doesn't belong to your dog, go ahead and pick it up. It doesn't hurt you. Okay, 2 quick things. The law and you. I'd like to remind people who get on social media and those people who get on news sites and blog that there are 2 terms that we should all know, slander and libel. They can both get you into big trouble. Be sure that whatever you're saying about people in social media and in blogs is true, because you can not only hurt their feelings, but you can get sued. I encourage all of you to pick one of these up and read it. And while you're at it, read this. It's a great book. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Naomi.
Hello, Naomi Bello. I live here in Sherwood. I'd like to respond. Thank you, by the way, for doing the audit. We do appreciate that, Mayor Bill, and everybody who initiated that. As a resident, I feel that's very important, and I'm sure the majority of people that live here, the 18 to 20,000, also do as well. I want to thank you, Councilor Christina Clark, for being the judge at the Trashpalooza and for leading a team. You had the largest team at the event, and it was a lot of fun. We had close to 100 volunteers. We had people from not just Sherwood, but people from all over the area. And next year, we'd like to see more Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts get involved. So thank you once again, Mayor Bill, for initiating this event and starting it in Sherwood, because I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's great that the city took it on this year. And thank you to everybody for being here tonight, even though there is a Blazers game going on. Thank you. And also, I'd like to just comment on the charter review, the charter changes that are on the ballot now. I think it should be noted, as Kurt Christensen wrote in the Sherwood Gazette, that there's a lot of problems with the charter changes and that the citizens need to be aware of it. There are some that are benign and probably thrown in there to confuse the public at large. But in general, I think it's just not right that you should just suddenly make these changes. And in particular, the adoption of the council rules. Under this rulemaking strategy, as Kurt Christensen said, A counselor can shut out the public and manipulate the process every 4 years. It seems a reasonable approach, but voters might like to have a history of guarantees for how general as well as our special committee, council committees are conducted. Now, in the last year, since Walmart was introduced to Sherwood, and you've had a lot of citizens come here who are upset, we know that we haven't always been given a voice in the process. We've been shut out, and so I don't think this is going to help the matters at all, and to build the public's trust in the city. And for example, one of the charter changes says public comments at each regular meeting. Well, isn't that a given? I mean, why would you need to implement a change? I mean, that's already a rule. You should have resident comments at each meeting, and sometimes they aren't allowed, or they're moved to the very end of the meeting. We were here until 11 o'clock at night one time last year, which was just ridiculous for us who have children, and some people are disabled or ill. They can't stay here that long, and it shouldn't. Why do we need a charter change for that? And of course, term limits. That's one of the more benign ones. I think it's just there to confuse people. So I hope that the citizens will come together and vote no, and that our voices will be heard. And I'd also like to comment on June Reynolds, who runs the History Museum here in Sherwood. She's going to be having a new history camp in Sustainable Sherwood, which is based in Portland. Thank you for giving us a table at the Trashpalooza, but we felt we really shouldn't take the space and we should give it to local groups. So we gave ours to the 4-H group. So thank you. But the Sustainable Sherwood is going to have a field team, and if people would like to participate in that, they can contact the local history museum. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to just have one comment on this, and it's Council President Henderson would talk about it. It's the one on the public comments.
Right.
Okay, so, go ahead.
So of the 5 changes that the citizen-led Charter Review Committee recommended to Council, the one that mentioned citizens' comment is in addition to, I haven't read the article that you've been referencing for, I don't know, the last half an hour. But in the charter, there is no mandate for citizen comment. That is why the council or the citizen-led committee wanted to put that into the charter. It's listed under council rules, but the charter doesn't mandate any citizen comment be taken, and state law doesn't mandate any citizen comment be taken. So the committee thought that that was something important to communicate to the elected officials through the charter by mandating that public comment be afforded at every meeting, because currently the charter does not address public comment.
But isn't that what a city hall meeting is about? I mean, I think it's a given. Yeah, I think it is. It's a good point to make, but it should already be implied just, by the fact that we're having a city hall meeting that the public will be speaking. Another thing I'd just like to tag on is I heard that the Chamber of Commerce is going to be selecting a Citizen of the Year and their favorite business of the year, and I hope that they take into consideration the small business owners, those that work within the confines of our ecosystem that we live between Parrot Mountain and the Tualatin River. Small businesses that don't clog the roads with additional traffic, and that they look to a citizen that might have spent a lot of time volunteering or adding to the quality of life here in Sherwood.
Okay,
So
thank you, Naomi. Appreciate it. But I was surprised also that it doesn't mandate that you have citizen comments.
Previous mayors had disallowed it at
we-
their whim.
Yeah, so that's one of the ones that we added because it's not there. Lori Stevens.
Lori Stevens, 15630 Farmer Way, Sherwood. I hadn't intended to speak, but I need to address the woman that commented about the could not, would not on the audit for the Y. As the former vice president of the Sherwood Swim Association, back when the Swim Association was still in existence, we also tried several times to get a copy of their financial records, and for whatever reason were also not given full disclosure of full reports. So it is not a unique circumstance that this occurred, and I think she misconstrued the article. I agree that the company that was hired, or I don't know for fact, I don't think they were hired to do an audit of the records. I think they were hired to look at the contract to see if it was written clearly, and they determined it was not. So arguing the point of whether or not there were actual financial issues is kind of moot, but it is a known fact that the Y does not fully disclose financial records when they are requested to do so, and I think to put the onus on the city of Sherwood to keep track of those records is silly. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. There you are. Tony Bevel.
Tony Bevel. I've lived in Sherwood for 16 years. My concern, which I've brought up about 3 times, is traffic, and in my little world, Southwest Lindley Way, which is between Roy Rogers and Edie Road. Sometimes I think it's Portland International Raceway. I appreciate the police have station patrol there. They've even been in our driveway trying to monitor it. When that happens, traffic slows down, obviously. But any other time during a busy part of the day, in the morning, late afternoon, I mean, you've got traffic going through there. Today was such a beautiful day. I was trying to catch up on spring yard cleaning. I was out in the yard, and I mean, unbelievable the number of cars going through at the end of where I live, where there's a stop sign, Southwest Lindley and Houston. I mean, I thought we were all from Oregon now. I mean, those are California stops for people going through there. And they're going at a good clip at the same time. So again, I would ask that I've been told numerous times that we can't have speed bumps in Sherwood. They can have them, again, Tigard, Lake Oswego, Beaverton, but we can't have it in Sherwood. I don't understand that. I've been told that we can have traffic calming devices, we received a letter stating that would happen. Action would be taken. Well, at the end of Southwest Lindley, another traffic stop sign has been installed, which the people at the far end of Southwest Lindley, I'm sure, appreciate. But in the interim, when people come from Roy Rogers through to Houston, through to Eddy Road, I mean, again, I say Portland International. I mean, it's a big exaggeration, I know, but that's what it feels like. If, standing out there looking at traffic go by, that's what it seems like. So again, I'm asking, as was promised in a letter, which I misplaced, that, we would have action on our street. So that's what I want. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last citizen comment form I have. So now we're going to go on to new business, which is Resolution 2014-030, reducing transportation system development charges. Julia Haidu?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, before you get...
Oh, we also have a change to that. Right?
Before you get started, I'm just going to recuse myself from this one.
Oh, okay. We have a change. Did you want to pass that out?
Sure, I'll go ahead and pass that out.
And then explain it. Right.
Sure. If you want to take one and pass it around. So the proposed, thank you, Mayor and Council. So the resolution, I think the staff report was fairly clear what the intent of the resolution was. And as I was preparing for the meeting this evening, I realized that the resolution itself perhaps wasn't as clear as I thought it was. And so I have proposed an amendment to Section 1 that makes it more clear that This resolution is declaring the council's intent to reduce the SDC, the Transportation System Development Charge, at a rate of 50% of the adopted fiscal year 2013-2014 rate schedule effective July 1, 2014 to July 1, 2017. Again, I think the staff report's clear that we're saying this is the intent. The expectation is and was that if council adopts this resolution, that those changes would be folded into the fee schedule update, and council would consider that and adopt that at that time. So I guess any question about that change, if you are supportive of that, then you would obviously need to make a motion to amend the resolution. But before I begin discussing the actual proposal, any questions about that change? Okay, sorry for the confusion. So what is the resolution itself, as I said, would reduce the local transportation system development charge by 50% of what's currently being collected and currently assessed in the fee schedule. The council has had several work sessions on this topic, but I'm going to review it a little bit for both you as well as the public at home, just to remind people why we're discussing this and why this is being proposed. When the city adopted the transportation system plan back in 2005, there was already a countywide traffic impact fee that was assessed but did not cover even close to the actual impacts of development. When we adopted our transportation system plan, we identified a number of projects that we felt were necessary to support the transportation system over the 20-year planning period, but we recognized that there wasn't funds to do that. We developed a SDC report and methodology that was intended and adopted an SDC that was intended to make up the difference between the full impact of any given use, the TIF, the transportation impact fee that was assessed by the county, and then the SDC was making up the difference between that. Since that time, the TIF was replaced by the Transportation Development Tax, which is referred to as the TDT. It was adopted by the voters of Washington County in 2008, and it increased the fees that were assessed at the county level fairly significantly, but still not enough to make up the full difference. We also, at the city level, shortly after we adopted the transportation system, the system development charge, we adopted a 25% discount across the board. So we kind of had some things changing since we adopted our TSP and SDC methodology. With the TDT increasing and the SDC decreasing over time, we need to readjust. I guess there's the recognition that we need to readjust the numbers and the fees. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being very unclear, so I'm going to pause for a second. The TDT caps uses. So you've got your any given use has a certain number of trips associated with it. But at the county level, it was capped at a certain rate, and the SDC was intended to make up the difference, and that still is the case. So you have some trips that are the difference in the SDC in some cases is significantly more than in others. So we've looked at that basically, and we found it on page 37 of your council packet. It looks at there's a table that shows the comparison by categories. You have residential, institutional, commercial, office, and industrial. And what that, on, again, page 37, the table on page 37 of your council packet shows the percentage of actual costs that are covered by the TDT. And then the next column shows the percentage of actual costs covered by the current city SDC with a 25% discount. The third column shows the actual costs being paid for by the TDT plus the SDC. And you can see there that some of the uses are actually paying more than their impact. The only exception is the commercial retail uses, which is actually still not quite paying 100% of their impact. But as I mentioned, because of the way the TDT trips were capped, there's a greater proportion share being paid for by those uses, and that's actually shown, that it's illustrated in your council packet on page 37, the table that shows you that, for example, a motel, hotel, in other places in Washington County, the actual cost, well, everywhere, the actual cost of an impact for a hotel motel is about $9,500 per room. The TDT, so anywhere other than in Sherwood and Washington County, the TDT charges about $1,800 per room. But in Sherwood, because of the way the SDC methodology made up the difference between what was actually assessed and what the impact was, users, developers would be required to pay about $7,700. So there's this pretty significant impact, even though it's still not paying 100% of its share with the reductions in the caps and the trip caps. It's still paying a significantly higher proportionate share than other users in Washington County. And we talked about that with council at prior work sessions and discussed I think the council has heard and staff has heard about the economic impacts that you have developers that if they have to choose where they're going to locate and then they're looking at the cost of things, that is a detriment, that's a disincentive for people locating in Sherwood. So we want to try to level the playing field a little bit, as well as make up for those categories where we are over collecting. And so our recommendation is actually reducing across the board the SDC by 50%. And it's not a simple. It's not simple to say it's just a reduction of 50% because you've also simultaneously had increases in the TDT. You've had some things that have been paid for by development. You've had things shift around. So we did look at what the effect of a reduction might be, and it's a little bit looking back, which we can fairly accurately say, and a little bit of forecasting looking forward, which is a little bit more of a crystal ball. But we estimate that over a 3-year period, you're probably looking at about $1.35 million that would be not assessed if you reduced the SDC by 50%. You're still collecting about $1.35 million in SDCs as well as about $2.6 million in TDT. So there's still funds that would be potentially coming in that would be contributing to projects. We also recommend that this not be forever, that there be a limit on this. And there's the main reason for that is that we recognize we're in the process of updating our transportation system plan. We're going through the adoption hearing soon with the Planning Commission and hope to bring that to the council in late June, early July, where we'll have a new list of projects, an updated list of projects that we'll need to consider, and we need to reevaluate the SDC methodology. And so we want to acknowledge that this reduction isn't forever, that we need to reevaluate the list of projects, the SDC methodology, and bring that back to you. And so having that 3-year time limit kind of makes that clear to the development community, but also makes a commitment from us that we need to make sure that we get that done within the 3 years. So with that, we recommend adoption of the resolution with the changes that I handed out to you. A couple other things I want to make clear is that this would, if it's adopted, it would take effect July 1, 2014. So any projects, any building permits submitted prior to that would still be assessed the SDCs at the current rate. It would be effective with the updated fee schedule. And then we also recognize that there may be projects that are impacted that have current credits for the transportation SDC, and so we will be looking at a policy and a process if development wants to transfer those credits to TDT credits, that we would do that. But it's not a simple dollar for dollar, and so we need to kind of make sure that we've got that clearly identified, what the process would be. The resolution 2014-030, again, will be making your intent clear that you would be reduced, that the intent is to reduce the transportation SDC by 50% effective July 1. It would be effective until July 1, 2017. Unless you took action sooner, if we had completed the SDC methodology sooner, you would basically could adopt that sooner and replace the fees and charges. Staff would provide notice to potentially affected properties, and then we will also develop the policy and process to allow the transfer of SDC credits to TDT credits. Sorry, that was really confusing.
It's the acronyms.
It is, and the staff report, I think, laid it out really well, and I tried to summarize without following it, and I didn't do very well. So hopefully it was clear, and if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilor Butterfield?
Can you go back to page
30, what?
38.
38, sure.
Third paragraph from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure I heard you. I thought I heard you say that we were collecting 2.6 million in TDTs and 1.9 in SDCs. Is that backwards?
It is backwards.
Yeah, because that's the way I heard it too.
We would anticipate collecting 2.6 million and actually my the text in the document is backwards. We would continue to we anticipate collecting 2.6 million in TDT, and actually
no.
What's that?
Sorry, because a 50% reduction of 1.3 is half of 2.6.
But the TDT isn't halved. It's the SDC that's halved.
Right, and so the way that it is stated is 2.6 in SDC.
But I don't think I'm understanding the question.
Okay, because if you're saying that it's opposite, so the trend line indicates that we could anticipate collecting 2.6, you're saying that it's TDT. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so it must be that the 1.3 million is also incorrect. Is that what you're saying?
The table is correct.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so go to the table.
Go to the table.
All right.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not. I think I tried to summarize that in the document. I believe that what it's supposed to say in the text is 2.6 million in TDT, and I'm not sure where that 1.9. The table is correct.
Okay.
So let me kind of explain that. So people who don't have the table and can kind of do that. So currently, we anticipate, without a 50% reduction, collecting $2.7 million in SDC, $2.6 million in TDT. With a 50% reduction of the SDC, it would roughly be half the revenue, which would be roughly 1.35 million, and then still collecting the same TDT amount because there's no adjustments to that of 2.6 million.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Do we need to fix that then?
It's just the staff report is explaining for the council what the impact could be. And again, I want to make, it says that in the second to last paragraph, that's just an estimate. If more development happens, it could be much higher. If less development happens, it could be much less. It depends on the type of development. So we're really just estimating at this point, but that's a good estimate.
Councilor Clark?
I have a question for Julia. Can you please tell us how you came about with the 50% number? So was that looking at the tables, saying, all right, we are generating well in excess because of the increase in TDT. So we're generating well in excess of what we need to actually handle the transportation. Was it a mathematical tabulation? How'd you come up with the 50?
It partly because it got us close to the residential, which is how much we're over. So the residential is about 50%, 54%. And so just to make it simple and across the board, we recommended doing that. So at least we're making all of them fair. Some of them are being reduced maybe more than they perhaps need to be, but also where we're hearing it the most from is from the development community, industrial uses, offices, jobs, change of uses. And so this just helps us level the playing field from an economic development standpoint, and then makes it, ensures that it's fair for the residential uses that are contributing more than their share.
Council President Henderson, do you have something?
Back to the chart.
Which chart?
38. So even though the county hasn't increased the TDT for a while, it's slated to be increased, correct?
Correct. So
if your trend line follows what the county is supposed to be doing, wouldn't our TDT actually go up?
Yes.
So
and we didn't.
It's just an estimate. I understand.
It is just an estimate. They have there's talks of them continuing to hold it for a little bit longer. Right. So we didn't. We just thought to be conservative, we'll just keep it at its current rate. But we do expect that the TDT will go up, and that we will collect more in TDT over time.
All right. The other question I had was at the bottom of page 38. I had when I read this, I had written 3 years question mark. Mm-hmm. So I assume in your amendment to the resolution, that's what you're trying to address. The intent is to reduce the rate 50% through a period no later than July 1 of 2017.
Correct.
Okay. And does staff anticipate, how long do you think it will be to develop the new methodology for the SDC?
It will be less. I think it will take us less time than 3 years, but 3 years kind of gave us that safety. I think we're thinking within the next year being able to update that. So it could be sooner, but the 3 years was sort of the motivation to make sure that we had it done by then.
Okay. And will we do that in-house or go out, or?
We will hire a consultant to help us with that.
Okay.
Council President, I'd also like to say that the reason for the amendment is to clear up any confusion about what document is it that actually establishes the new rate. Is it this resolution, or is it the subsequent fee schedule?
Right.
And so what we're saying is this is the council's resolve that it be done, and directs the city manager to reflect this intent in the subsequent fee schedule, but it's the fee schedule that will actually change the rate. Not
and we'll
this
adopt
resolution.
that in June.
When we adopt our budget.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And this also helps lay that foundation so that you don't need to have as much discussion of the rationale and the reason. This will sort of serve as the documentation of why, when you adopt the fee schedule, you're doing that. That's not to say you can't take additional comments or add additional thoughts to that. But
I want to thank you for the hard work you put in on this, because I know it was very difficult.
Well, and thank you very much. Bob Galati deserves a lot of
thank you, Bob.
support. One of the reasons why I probably was not making a lot of sense is that I was just using a lot of his numbers, and I'm like, what are they? So I'm sure it would have been more clear had he been up here talking. So I wanted to thank him for that.
Do I have a motion to amend?
Sylvia, do you want to assign a new resolution number? You want me to use the same one?
Just amending it. Okay.
So, okay, I'm going to cross this off then. So I move we adopt Resolution 2014-030 as amended.
Second.
Yeah, we have to amend it first.
Then we have to come back and do it.
Would you like me to summarize the proposed amendment?
Yes.
It has been suggested by staff that the resolution be amended as follows. In section 1, at the beginning of the text, insert the phrase, quote, "The city council declares its intent that," end quote, Later in that same section 1, after the word schedule and before the word until, insert the phrase, quote, effective July 1, 2014, end quote, such that the section in its entirety reads, the City Council declares its intent that the City Transportation System Development Charge shall be charged at a rate of 50% of the adopted fiscal year 2013-2014 rate schedule effective July 1, 2014 until July 1, 2017, unless such action is taken by Council to modify the STC methodology and calculations sooner, end quote.
Okay.
That's proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
The charter says it has to be read out loud.
Yeah.
Sure. So I move we adopt Resolution 2014-030 with the amendments made to Section 1 as stated by our attorney, Mr. Crean.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
So, ready?
Okay.
Nothing.
So you now need to adopt the amendment.
Right. So now I move to adopt amended Resolution 2014-030.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Mr. Mayor, I respectfully request that I be able to leave.
Yes,
I
yes.
stayed a little longer, but I saw we were a
Well,
little thin, so
Thank you.
you are welcome. And I'm sorry.
No, no problem. Counselor Langer, you want to come back up? Where are you? Oh, in there. Yeah. Our next is council announcements. Let's start down. Counselor Butterfield.
I have no,
No,
I,
it's-
I have no council announcements.
Not even Parks Board?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Counselor Langer.
Sweet Story's got a ribbon cutting this Thursday, May 8th at 6 p.m. So please all come and enjoy the festivities. Cruising is Saturday, June 14th, getting real close, just a few weeks away now. The annual Chamber Awards dinner is Thursday, June 19th at 6 p.m. The theme is Smockville Bonanza. It's Western attire, so get your cowpoke on. And the YMCA has on May 26th, Memorial Day, from their hours will be 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And Youth T-Ball is going big on the sport court right now in full swing with hundreds of youth running around playing some T-ball. On May 16th is a teen dance on the sport court. And go Blazers.
They're losing.
I'm a Laker fan, but that doesn't matter. Counselor Clark, would you like to go?
Yeah, I don't really have any announcements because Main Street will be meeting this week, and so will SERPAC. So I'll announce next time.
Council President Henderson.
The Charter Review Committee has reconvened, and we meet Thursday nights here. Sylvia, our next meeting date is... Sorry, I don't have a calendar. I didn't have a calendar in front of me.
The third week in...
So, 15th?
Believe so.
Yeah, so 15th, 6:30 here, and the committee is continuing to review other sections of the charter that may need updating or amending, and they'll continue to work with that. And then in June, early July, the council will again meet in a work session with the Charter Review Committee. We have mandated deadlines that we have to meet to get certain things on the ballot, even as far out as November, and so we'll need to get those in, get ballot titles written and adopted and voted on by the council. Also would like to thank Tess for the Stanislawski Memorial. It was a great event. I was privileged to be a part of it, and it was great to hear some of the stories that people still fondly remember when we were a much smaller town. And today I had the privilege of attending the law enforcement memorial ceremony. Unfortunately, of course, Oregon City Police Officer Robert Lipke's name was added to that memorial. I'd never been, and it was a great honor to be there with agencies represented from all over the state. And every day our officers face that same risk of putting their life on the line, and it's a great sacrifice, and wanted to just share my experience that was a great event, and when it's open to the public and anybody can attend down outside of Salem, and I would encourage anybody, if you can, to go. The governor came and spoke, and it was a beautiful day, like Anthony had mentioned, and so that's all I have.
Planning Commission did not meet last time, and we're having a work session next Tuesday night. So go ahead, Julie, and just mention
on
that.
the transportation system plan.
Right. So I have no other committee reports.
13th. Okay.
City Manager.
Excuse me, sorry about that. I have a number of items that I'll quickly run through. The Blazers are losing poorly, so you're not missing anything, if you're wondering. A couple folks mentioned we are in an election. The election day is May 20th, so there are a number of issues on the ballot here in Sherwood, and another number of primaries and county elections, and the ballot box is out in the parking lot, and 8 p.m. on the 20th is the deadline. So it is election season, so please, I encourage folks to vote. Dog park. The mayor had asked me to give a quick update on the dog park. As the council knows, the Park and Rec Advisory Committee has recommended that Snyder Park be looked at as the site of our first dog park, something that I think has been long overdue in this community, and a lot of citizens want to see that happen. We have hired, actually I signed a small contract today with a design firm. It's about a $4,000 contract that basically will do a preliminary design, a couple of neighborhood meetings, and some drawings to really look at that site and come up with a budget in terms of putting that dog park together. So that's where we are, Mayor, with that process. One of the things that folks can get involved with starting tomorrow, and I'll have information on the city's website, we'll probably put a press release out and it'll get some media coverage, but there's a company called PetSafe, which is a national company, and they have a contest where it's called Bark for Your Park, and you can win $100,000 for your community to develop a dog park. And it's basically one of these competitions that you go online twice daily and vote for your community. This will be through the summertime. There are 4 other runner-up cities that will win $25,000. So I think we're going to encourage people to vote and to vote often, and see if we can get into the finalists and see if we can bring some outside dollars in to help build a dog park. So that'll be on the webpage starting tomorrow. We can't start nominating cities until tomorrow. So we will nominate the city of Sherwood, and I encourage residents to vote for that. So Julia had a number of items that, from a community development standpoint, she wanted me to pass on to the council and public. The first item, council, you may recall that you received a letter from the school board chair back in late March outlining some concerns with the expiration of a reimbursement district around the Ridges School campus, and asking you to consider some modifications to the code to allow for an additional extension. We're prepared, staff is prepared to bring that to you on June 3rd, but we just kind of want to get a head nod, at least from the council, that you would be open to that item publicly.
Yeah.
So, okay. Just as a reminder, that district currently will expire March 3rd, 2018. And development that occurs after that date will not be required to reimburse the school district for the costs they incurred constructing the infrastructure. I think because of the downturn in the economy, they're seeking some extra time for the investment they made. So that's will be coming on June 3rd. The Cedar Creek Trail Local Trail Advisory Committee will be having their first meeting next Thursday, May 15th from 6:30 to 8. It'll be upstairs in the City Hall lobby, because this room will be busy with charter review. I mentioned this at the last meeting. DEQ is hosting a meeting to discuss the Ken Foster Farms testing results on the same evening, May 15th, downstairs in the community room from 6:30 to 8:30. So actually, I think that's in here, and charter review is in the small room. So there'll be 3 activities going on in City Hall that night. And then finally, Julia wanted to remind citizens that Metro is conducting a housing preference survey, which is intended to analyze people's housing preferences when factoring size, location, proximity to services, proximity to work, and type of dwelling. There is a link on our website. We really are encouraging Sherwood residents to take the survey. It will factor into future actions, including growth management decisions, UGB expansions, and funding priorities. The survey is open till May 9th. So Metro is seeking your input on that. It's very important that Sherwood's voice is heard. So we wanted to make sure folks knew that. A couple other things that I got from a couple of the counselors, important things that have happened in the last couple of weeks or announcements of upcoming events. Councilor Clark has been very busy as usual. She sent me a list of some of the things that have happened that she's participated in that I would like to highlight briefly. Back on April 24th, Westside Economic Alliance had a county commissioner candidate forum. They had a panel and an opportunity for members to ask questions. I think for the first time in many years, we have a competitive county commissioner race here. So Councilor Clark wanted me to encourage everyone to read their voters pamphlets and get out and vote. Trashapalooza, we were mentioned earlier. Councilor Clark wanted to give a special thank you to Naomi Belov, her daughter Nadia, and is it Monet? Okay. And then the owner of Blue Plume Studios for starting the event last year. This started last year, and now the city's partnered with them. And I know Naomi and her family and others worked very hard on that. A number of you attended the Fiddler on the Roof performances over the last 2 weekends. I had a chance as well to attend. I was very amazed at the talent in this community, and I think the one thing that to highlight is that's only the second musical in 19 years here, and because of the success, Principal Ken Bell at the high school said we're going to make this an annual event. So musicals are going to happen in the community. I think they sold out 4 out of 6 nights, which was wonderful to see the arts supported in the community at the high school. Good Samaritan Saturday happened through Faith in Action last Saturday. That was another awesome event that happens every spring in this community. Bella Via hosted a girls' night out back on May 2nd to support and promote small businesses in town. And then similar to that, on May 4th, the owners of Sherwood Allstate hosted a women's business symposium to support and promote small business in town. A couple upcoming events. The Sherwood High School FFA is having their plant sale for 2 more weekends. The Sherwood Charter School is having their annual dinner auction on May 10th. You can purchase tickets online. And then on May 17th, the Sherwood High School Booster Club will be holding their Drive One for Your School event at the high school from 8 to 10 a.m. For every car test driven, the dealership will make a cash donation to the club. I think they do that every year, and it's kind of fun. So, and last but not least, we have our first budget meeting on May 14th in this room, which is a Wednesday evening. We are doing a second budget meeting on a Saturday morning, which we've not done before, from 9 a.m. to noon. We're hoping that maybe we'll get some increased attendance at the budget meeting by holding a Saturday meeting. And then I'm almost done. The one last thing, Councilor Folsom, who had to leave, wanted me to make sure to highlight is that this weekend is the VPA Spring Benefit Concerts. The highlight is the 10-year anniversary of the Sherwood Choral. Michael Allen Harrison is coming to share a concert on Saturday night at 7:30. So there are events May 9th, May 10th, and 2 events on May 10th, an afternoon event and an evening event. So that is coming up. There's information online at vpafoundation.org. That's all I had.
Council President, have one more.
Yeah, I had forgot to mention, we have a meeting this Thursday. We're hosting the Policy Advisory Board for the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is a Washington County federally funded program board that I sit on, that has funded many projects at our senior center. And we'll be hosting that on Thursday night right here at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. And so we'll have representatives from all over Washington County. The chair of that board is Pete Truax, who's the mayor of Forest Grove, and they'll be here discussing projects that they fund and ongoing issues relating to future funding and concerns about that. It's actually a really interesting, long-standing meeting, and they have the same concerns that everybody has who's federally funded, is whether or not they'll be continuing. Those funds will just be continuing to dwindle. So, but it's nice to be able to move the meeting around instead of always having to drive to Hillsborough. So I want to thank Kristen for helping put that together.
When's the date on that?
The 8th, Thursday night, 7 o'clock.
Mayor and Council, did you have any other questions for me or the department heads?
No.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
that's it. Meeting adjourned.